Mr. Speaker, members, before I begin my speech, I really want to express my sincere gratitude for this House, Republicans and Democrats, who prayed for me. You prayed for me, and you prayed for me fervently. Some of you came by my desk and prayed for me, and I'm grateful for your prayers. I also want to thank you because some of you prayed that I would come back. Thank you for bringing me back at this late evening to be here with you tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This morning, as I was preparing my breakfast at the hotel, it's a buffet that they provide, and Representative Sherman Burns, as I was looking over the food and putting things on my plate, I heard a woman's voice speaking, and she was describing the food that was on the buffet. And she would say, I heard her say, "This bacon looks good." And then she got to the melons and she said, "The melons look good." She got to where I was at the oatmeal. She never described the oatmeal. She never described the hash browns. She described the eggs. I realized she never described the sausage. She never described the grits. She only described the things that she saw to mention to the person who was with her. And I wondered in my mind, why is this middle-aged white woman describing the things in the buffet like a realtor does when they're showing you a house, as if you don't know this is the kitchen, this is the master bedroom? And then I realized, Representative Tote, the person she was talking to was blind. He couldn't see anything on the menu. He could only depend on her to describe what was on the menu, meaning that he could only eat what she had described. Let me express my deep gratitude for the opportunity to address this very respected group of my colleagues. You've worked hard to get here. And I know this opportunity and privilege was not afforded to my grandfather, to be able to stand here and speak to you. The chair, or the author of this bill, said that we love diversity. We want to make sure that no one gets preferential treatment. Legislators are sent here, I believe, to address problems and concerns and issues and challenges and or opportunities in our society. But I want to know, for all clarification, what is the problem that we are addressing in this bill? What is the challenge that we are addressing in this bill? Normally, as you know, we here in this body are very deliberative. We don't respond quickly to issues like Uvalde and Allen, Texas, El Paso, Santa Fe. We don't respond without being very thoughtful. That said, how long has DEI been a problem? When did it become a problem? What group or advocacy group came before this body or members to say DEI is a problem? This bill says we must close DEI offices. I want to remind you again, earlier it was said we love diversity. Who is we? What is your definition of love? Meaning, how do you show love? What is your definition of diversity? What groups are included in diversity to you? Same old, same old. I implore you to ask, do you perceive DEI as an intentional program? Our Sergeant of Arms of this very House, is the epitome of DEI. And she is exceptionally qualified. But she is not the first woman to have been more than qualified to be Sergeant of Arms. No progress without being intentional. Racism in our past was intentional. Integrity must be intentional. Inclusive must be intentional, and diversity in a world that has a historical past of being intentionally racist must be intentional. You know, intentionality will make you consider other people. Consider that there's sausage on the buffet too. Consider that there are grits on the buffet too. Being intentional will make you listen even when you don't agree with a person who is addressing you. How many constituents live in your districts are black? The speaker, whom I have a huge respect for, stated at the time he was campaigning for speakership, and I quote, "In Texas, we set politics aside and we work for the benefit of all Texans. Leadership," he said, "must be diverse. It must look like Texas and give a meaningful voice to the different people from across the state." Imagine a voice that would not have to beg or plead to be heard. A voice like the 32% of African Americans who live in your district, the 22% of African Americans that live in your district, the 22% of African Americans that live in your district. What if they didn't have to beg and plead and ask you to just consider them? The NFL 20 years ago, this year, began the Rooney Rule, and it only said they had to consider. Before then, there was no African American as a head coach, no African Americans in the front office. That first year of the Rooney Rule, there was still no African Americans because all they had to do was just consider them. So that means, Mr. Speaker, as I come to my close, and I thank you so much, because I just believe when I came here, people would not vote party, but they would vote for the people. So I know this is huge because here we vote party, not people. I just ask you to consider the people in your district that may not look like you. God bless you and thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.